reflections, my dear sisters and brothers. Yesterday, it was the Pharisees and the Herodians who came to Jesus with a loaded or a cutting-edge question regarding the lawfulness of paying taxes to Caesar. Today, it is the Sadducees who come to Jesus with a similar question, but this time it is about marriage and resurrection. What's common to all these groups of people is that they are not seeking enlightenment, but to snare Jesus, to trap him. Now, to understand them, let us think of different types of people. I guess there are people who know and there are people who do not know. Among those who do not know, there are those who accept that they do not know. These are humble learners. They ask questions because they genuinely seek wisdom, enlightenment. They are open to learning and being taught. But there are those who do not know but pretend as if they know. They are unwilling to admit their limitations. Their questions are not meant to discover the truth, but to defend their pride. And worst of all is this: there are those who do not even know that they do not know. They are so certain of themselves that they never stop to question their assumptions. So these groups of people, Pharisees, Sadducees, and Herodians, seem to belong to these second and third categories. Hence, their question is carefully crafted. A woman marries 7 brothers, one after another, each leaving no descendants. At the resurrection, whose wife will she be? Unlike the Pharisees, the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection of the dead. They accepted only the first 5 books of the Holy Bible, the Pentateuch or the Torah, in which there was no mentioning about the resurrection. And so they did not want to believe. So they approached Jesus not because they were genuinely searching for truth. He himself is the way, the resurrection, and the life. No. But because they wished to ridicule the very idea of resurrection. So they neither understood the mystery of God, at least in Jesus, nor recognized the limits of their understanding. It is for this reason that Jesus tells them bluntly, "You are greatly mistaken." Notice that Jesus does not say they are mistaken because they ask questions, know that they are genuinely seeking knowledge. He says they are mistaken because they neither know the scriptures nor the power of God. 2,000 years later, this diagnosis of humanity remains relevant even for today. It is relevant not because we continue to ask these types of questions. For example, what happens after death? Is there life beyond the grave? What is the meaning of marriage or not? Will I be marrying the same person in heaven? I might be asking from my bed. Why do people suffer? Where is God when tragedy strikes? What is the purpose of my life? And so on and so forth. And this is also relevant today because we continue to grapple with our ignorance, pride, mistakenness, and our unwillingness to learn. So the situation at hand is not just an ancient scenario. It involves timeless questions, our nature, our reality, and our humanity. We live world overflowing with information, just like Pope Leo reminds us in the Magnificat Humanitas, but often lacking wisdom and humility. We can search almost anything on our phones, internet. Within seconds, yet many of the deepest questions of existence, such as our search for meaning, clarity, identity, and happiness, remain unanswered by technology, wealth, science, or politics, and you name it. So there Jesus reminds us, my dear sisters and brothers, that some truths can only be understood when we approach God with humility, which the Sadducees failed to do before Jesus. While Sadducees imagine heaven merely as an extension of earthly life, which ends in death, thus recreating earthly relationships, existence exactly as they are now, Jesus invited them to think bigger, think differently, and understand that God's reality is greater than our imagination. It is for this reason, my dear sisters and brothers, that the God that Jesus reveals is not the God of the dead. He lived in himself, but the God of the living. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Moses, as God himself revealed in the burning bush, as the scripture reminded us today, fully alive and fully living. So the final word over our lives is not death, but life. Not loss, but resurrection. Not grave, but God. Hence let us ask ourselves today, am I humble enough to admit what I do not know and allow God to teach me? Are my questions about faith genuine, searching for greater truth, deeper meaning, or are there attempts to justify what I already believe? Do I live as though God is truly the God of the living, trusting that his power is greater than my fears, doubts, and limitations? Or do I live as though God is dead?